All right. Okay. This is lovely. This trail has been quite magical. Okay. Oh, look. The ground is opening up. My little fragmented observations probably don't mean much, but if I explain it to you, the snow is melting, and when you walk in the snow out here on uneven ground, and it's fun and everything, but you know how like snow goes through different phases. You know, it can be like magical and wonderful, and then it's like your feet are wet and you want to go home, and the ground is coming back. The face of my Lord is coming back. My Father, you are covered by this unsightly icy mask. What happened, my Lord? That is called snow, my son. I see your intelligence is still quite stunted. How shameful of me. I feel like my own balls shrink every time you approach my altar. How can you make up for that, my wretched bastard of a darkling child? Well, Father, you could stop treating me in abusive fashion. You moodless fuck. My son, why do you imagine such narcissistic relationships with your Heavenly Father? Is it because your own species has become so adamant about thwarting every turn that a child would take to self-determine and do everything that an adult says is their right after they've gone through the sacrilegious maiming that is known as childhood and early adulthood? Or is this too much exposition for an imaginary character? And we should resort to rather acquainting ourselves with the local environment to find out just exactly where the fuck we are. So a duck has just relieved himself of his current position because I guess I was a little bit evil. Look at how picturesque that log is. The sun is out there. Thank you, Mother Nature, for warming up. Thank you. I know you didn't do it just for me, but I appreciate it. Okay. All right. It's all right. It's okay, darling. It's okay, darling. The nice man's not going to hurt you. Okay. The nice man's not going to hurt you. It's really quite okay. Hey, la 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 la. Welcome to my church, the air. And my church is nothing but that I would acknowledge its existence. The greatest architect in the world may not know the pleasure of acknowledging the natural, not architecture. Arc means death. Okay? And all art is basically a mausoleum for the human spirit. You go to the Sistine Chapel, you're seeing the celebration of your mortification torture. And when you see God wrapped in, what is that, Michelangelo? And he's got all those people with him under that under that blanket. You know, like, who are those people? Well, they're like the multiple personalities that the human race is infected with as the schizoid character of the biblical imagination of our fairly laborious existence. Swift as it mercifully may be in the passing memories of our soon-to-be very senile lives. And, you know, life is only as good as it is today, no matter what you do. Life is only as good as it is to you right now. Life is only as good as you feel good right now. Life is only as good as you might have made it for yourself, and life is only as bad as you might have left it to be, left yourself open to some awful insecurity or bereavement. Fuck, you say, fuck. I hate fucking bereavement. What do I have to fucking do? Let's acknowledge the great, wonderful cathedral of the sky, the ocean of air that makes us so pure, the sound of the raven. That's Raven, the two ravens. Now, Raven, for the last 3 days, has been a highly powerful, potent medicine for me, taking me through many powerful journeys. And over the last month, really showing me the way through a lot of evil. So, two means completion. It's two of them, singing, talking to each other. Thank you. So as we talk about the temple, like creative temple ministers flying overhead. So in my church, we don't have angels, we have ravens. And you better fucking be respectful, because that's a powerful fucking medicine. But also magical, you know, magic, power, healing, you know. You need healing, it's scary. It's scary if you say, hey, nature, I need some healing. Like, what am I really asking for? You know, a punch in the head? Now, at least you go to the doctor. They might torture you. They might give you chemotherapy. But at least they can kind of explain to you, and they bullshit you enough, you know, before they stick their finger up your ass. Nature, you don't know what's going to hit you. And it's very hard, and it doesn't lend itself to the English language when we say that the difficult evil in our life can, though it shouldn't have to be, can be used. We can reposition ourselves. We want to put it in a different place. People say they want to put it behind them. Better to say you want it to be in a different place and get yourself in a better position with respect to anything, which you're never going to get away from evil, but put yourself in a better position if you can't move it into a different position. If there's a noisemaker in front of you, you either leave the room, or you shut the noisemaker up, or you put it somewhere else to regain peace. Right? We acknowledge the great air. The raven has come through the ocean of airs. We acknowledge the sky people. We acknowledge the earth people, the animal of the earth, the moving, the curves of the earth alone. Isn't the real church? Isn't this the life? Isn't it? It's not dust to dust. I'm standing, throbbing ocean of earth, living every groove, every texture of this mosaic speaks of an incredible book, right? That we draw our letters from such a living intelligence, and we draw our living intelligence from such a book. Move from everlasting to everlasting, and this is what health is about. And every church where you've never heard that is not a fucking church. It's a fucking mausoleum. I don't care how nice the songs are. I don't care how much you love your wedding day. It's the last fucking place I'd ever fucking commend my children to the beginning of their short existence. If the church has its way. And it's a short fucking existence indeed when the safety of a child is removed, even before they are born. What are you really giving to them if you don't give them this? Air, earth, fire. Fucking fire, eh? Pretty amazing. Fire that's almost engendered by the water, by the darkness. It's not fighting it, it's been engendered by it. In all of this is like the fire of the sun, engendered by this damp, dark earth. At its coldest is yet the engendered of the sun. Inside the coldest stone is yet the birth of spring. Just get a nice staff from one of these mighty people, that stone, and then listen, and you'll know what I mean. Woo! Spirit is what is sound. Spirit is what is sound. So if we say the spirit of the law would be a law made sound. And a law should make something sound. Right? Don't believe in a law that doesn't make things sound. Right? And if you think, well, the law is going to take some growth, at some point maybe it's not going to be blind anymore. It'll get its eyesight back and its hearing back. And you notice when you deal with police officers, it's like they're incredibly masterfully stupid, because violent narcissists usually are. They're masterfully stupid. Right? They have a stupidity that does them the greatest possible advantage. in what they know and what they don't, and what they see and what they don't, and what they hear and what they don't. Herein lay the realm of abnormal human psychology, and herein lay the realm of the average policeman doing their job. And I don't want to undermine their job or them so much as I think it helps us to understand how the human mind can be undermined and destroyed into various accelerations of its performance value in a financial cult or culture. How the destruction of something is imagined to be the evolution of something. So that Oprah Winfrey can get on TV and say, the new consciousness will be preceded by the death of the old consciousness. And so what is new and what is old are in a relationship where their identities are based on mutual annihilation. If my consciousness needs the old consciousness to die, what if the old consciousness, by action and reaction, Newton's laws, essentially is trying to kill me? And how do generations relate to each other? Because on some level, your parents are part of a system trying to kill you. They can be agents of your own death. They can smother you. They can eliminate you from the kinds of considerations which, to your judgment, do or do not make adequate provisions for your voice and your safety. How many parents talk like that? How many teachers talk like that? How many people in the world who are wonderful adults ever seem to have been acquainted with that knowledge, but know exactly how to avoid it? And whose greatest ethics will wish to never hear what I have to say, because it never has to be questioned. It never has to face any judgment. Never anyone that knows everything righteous about the world, that doesn't stick out their chest and say, I am confident in what I know about right and wrong. Don't let me hear about anything that conflicts with my knowledge. I'm an adult. And how many 9/10 of being an adult means pretending to be confident about absolute shit? Just like a snake oil salesman. They get on rolls and wear costumes. I heard a sound. Could be a bear. They're around. I should be a little less lackadaisical. If they do come out, I might have to move. There's an eagle. Mighty bear, I am here. I will cede gladly to thee in a trice. Make yourself visible to me. To me. To me. I shouldn't say that. But if they're there, I'd rather know. And then I'll put all my stuff in a bag like at lightning speed and go that way. Intense discussions, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I said I wanted to make something worthy of the Nature Man channel today. I created the Nature Man channel because I wanted to challenge myself to essentially work a little harder, to, explain myself and find ways to challenge myself to explain my life. It seems like the purpose of my life is to explain it. Which means, if my life becomes my explanation of my life, then really there's nothing to my life, is it? So hopefully I can't explain my life completely, because there's more to my life than my explanation of it. Or my explanation should be in such a way that it is my life. It's worthy of being my entire life, and my entire life worthy of being my explanation of my life. And so at some point you need to explain your life with sacred words. Your life is about such and such a sacred thing. You can retain the power to attribute to your occupations, as you and only you imagine them to be and need to be, of a level of sanctity worthy of the reality of the sanctity of your environment, your innate connection to it, your restorative connections to it, your lost connections to it, your robbed connections to it. That all of your occupations, such as you may imagine them, in and of yourself, could be thoroughly acquitted by simply dealing with what had been robbed from you. Because in and around all of this is that humans are robbed of most of their native connection to the earth, to their mommy and to their daddy and to themselves and each other. That happens all the time. All the time. In fact, that's what human chronological time is about. It's about rape and robbery. Feminism has done a lot, but it hasn't really got as far as to get into the nature of chronological time, historical time, anthropological time, evolutionary time, cosmic time. It's all about robbing you of shit. Okay? It sucks the fucking air, the sacred air, out of our fucking lungs. So that by the time it gets taken out of your lungs, or chokes someone like me, you're fucking used to it. This stuff would make you sick. Because this stuff brings stuff out of what I'm talking about is coming out of me. Not just out of my mouth, coming out of my blood. As it resonates with these people, with this cold, with this snow, with the ongoing holy book of the law that is the book of nature and the sky and the earth. I don't get to be some sort of twittery little fucking anthropologist or astronomer like, hey guys, this is grass, and I'm standing in a place where people in history did this, and these fucking trees are deciduous, and I live in a region like this, and I'm gonna go home to my middle class life and pay my taxes, because if I don't, I'm not gonna fucking own my house, which I don't own because I rent it no matter what I fucking do. And I fucking love that because I'm a white person. I'm like a really happy rodent. I was watching this guy who's the dean of history in the local university with his tweed jacket, and he gives these little free seminars with his patches. And I realized sitting there as a writer, I thought the way I would describe him in a book is a very pleasant rodent living in a rodent farm. And he even looks like a rodent, you know? And I thought, this guy's so smart. He's so nice. He's so good at relating and respecting people sharing different forms of bullshit knowledge. And yet, I don't think you could get any credible fucking useful information ever out of this fucking man. And in that very school, one of his own colleagues is brothel for children and giving them methamphetamines. And you just go, huh, right. Right. That's what happens when you look at white institutions. They're very white and they're very black. Very white and they're very black. Because they're all schizoids. It's an environment where pestilence can grow and live. You have rodents when you have an environment that lets them in. Right? And there's the rodents that come out in the public sphere, and there's the rodents hidden away that do other rodent things. They're insects, right? These academics live their whole lives in offices and hallways and linoleum and recycled air and fucking cafeterias and staff meetings, looking at slides of Renaissance paintings so they can finish their PhD on the contrasting styles of various Baroque artists under the influences of opium or something, and geared towards feminism and how estrogen affects their ability as men to understand the true feminine mystique of that era. And, you know, you'll get fucking millions of dollars of grant money for that shit. And they live in, I had one art history professor, a PhD, who decided to do an art project for a local show in the gallery. You know what she did? Different slides of her own fucking nail polish. It was considered modern art. Nail polish. That was all it was. She was like selling it for hundreds of dollars. It's like, what the fuck? They're rodent minds. And you know, I never fucking learned a fucking thing from Miss Bain, Professor Bain. Never learned a fucking thing from her. It's just weird. And I learned more from male professors than I did from females. I've never had a good female teacher in my entire life. Females make very poor professors, if you ask me. You know, the great thing about the male professor that I had is that he was actually an artist. He was a spoken word beat poet. No, true, a bit of a rodent himself, you know, but he genuinely loved the subject and could genuinely get other people to love it. But what's more amazing than what art historians see in paintings, because all of art history is ultimately what comes onto the canvas, what you see. Right? What's really amazing is to study what art historians don't see. And you can learn everything, more from that than what they see. Next time you take an art history class, do what they say, get your fucking grade, but think about what you missed. Because they miss everything. They're trained to miss everything. They're schizoids. They're never working for you or themselves. They're only ever working for God. And God doesn't want you to see half the world. He doesn't want you to see what's important about the world. He wants you to see what you're taught is important about the world. You see this painting? What's important about it? Well, it's Chiaroscuro. And he's depicting a scene when people are killing people in their sleep. And da-da-da-da-da. What about his influences and you learn about their lives and the Medicis and blah, blah, blah. It's like, fuck this shit. None of this is real. It's all witchcraft, for fuck's sake. It's like TV, but for paintings, right? And there's tons of subconscious material in all of them. Of course there is. It's the language of fucking history. Is the occult. Everywhere. The language of the military, the police, it's all fucking occult, motherfucker. All of it. That's how they rule you. Jesus Christ, people are so stupid. Because you go to these schools and the whole point is not what you learn, it's what you don't learn. And it's what it's even harder to learn after you go to school. Remember people with an education, or maybe you've had a therapist. Like some people, they meet therapists. Therapists have degrees, right? And how they don't fucking see things and they don't fucking hear things and they never fucking will again because they've been conditioned not to. School is not about what you see. It's about what you can't see and will never ever be able to see about other people. It turns you into a psychopath. You get social workers, right? They go to school for social work. But their work is not as much what they see, it's what they don't see. And it's not about how nice they are, but how passively aggressive they become. Because almost anything people do, they have to be able to be aggressive. That's programmed right into the society. And so if you're going to be aggressive, you can't ever be completely competent in what you do. And you can't see everything because everyone else has to be aggressive too. And so your education is very aggressive at making sure you only see certain things, even though the persuasive power of your education is mostly based in the stuff that you don't see. Does that sound like a straight up education to you? Does that sound legitimate? Oh, no, that isn't necessarily true. A good way to see that and how that could feel to you, for instance, is when people give you unsolicited advice, right? Unsolicited advice is a form of violence or passive aggression, right? If you don't like it, it's because the person doesn't know you, they don't see you, they haven't even given themselves a chance. They think they've seen you, they think they know you, they think they've heard what you've said or what it really means, and it's stimulated a compulsion to tell you something about yourself, something you really know, or something they should tell you because you're missing something really obvious. Let's do this. Why don't you just do that? Right? What if I were talking to you and saying blah blah blah? Haven't been to school for a long time, but and what if you said, hey, you know what? You should get a job. What? I said, yeah, you should just get a job. Yeah, you should just go get it. That'd be good for you. I kind of get the sense that that's what you need, right? That's passive aggressive, isn't it? That's unsolicited advice, right? You might do that all the time online, but you wouldn't do that to somebody you're talking to. And I find that industries like law enforcement and social services, these types of people live in a very aggressive world, very sarcastic world. And they tend to bandy around a lot of unsolicited advice. It's really quite useless. It's a waste of their time and yours. But it's kind of part of their religion. One of the reasons I don't give people unsolicited advice is because it is a waste of my time, because I know enough about other people, which you should know the person you're talking to if you're going to communicate to them, to know that it's probably likely to be completely useless. And the one time I think I ever gave anyone some unsolicited advice on their website, I felt like a complete fucking cunt for doing so. I realized how absolutely useless I found to be because you don't know enough about the other person, right? Unless you pepper it with all kinds of stipulations and qualifications, like I don't really know you, I don't know this, I offer this only, to this extent and not like a complete cure-all, blah, blah, blah. Pepper it with lots of qualifications. Because if you just someone comes in and say, I don't feel good, you're like, why don't you try this supplement from Ogilvy? This does everything for me. It changed my life, That's retarded, right? You might think, well, it's a positive statement. Ogilvy is positive. I'm being positive. But you don't know that Ogilvy is going to do anything for anybody. Especially since, for you, whatever it did, it turned you into a complete cunt who thinks that Ogilvy solves everyone's problems. I don't want your fucking Ogilvy. And yet someone else would be like, really? Oh yeah, Ogilvy. Okay, you've given me new hope. I'm going to go get a bunch of Ogilvy. You're in luck. Sell Ogilvy. Here's a free sample. And that'll only get you through the day. But if you want a week's supply, I'm going to need blood, urine, and your children's dowries. Oh, okay. You don't get anything this great without giving something. So, unsolicited advice, selling, irritations too. It puts your system in a defensive mode, right? And it paralyzes a lot of people. So a lot of people, just from their education and training, will talk to you. They might be passive aggressive. And you're already feeling a little paralyzed within seconds. I know this woman, she'll come and talk. And I know various women, and they'll paralyze you, right? They'll pepper you with positivity. They'll cheerfully tell you about everything about their life. And they're just basically paralyzing you. They're behaving in a pleasant, cheerful, extroverted sort of way. But it's also in an excited state, and they're paralyzing you. You're like, what's wrong? Even as they're talking, and they're paralyzing you while you stand there. Every single time you realize you're just paralyzed every time they're talking. And you want to say, stop. Could you just stop for a second? Could you just just take a breath? Really? Like, what's going on here? And they'd be like, I don't know what you mean. It's like, well, every time I talk to you, I feel paralyzed. You're in this really excited state. You want to and a lot of times, it's hard to do, but it can be done. You can do this just by breathing deeply as they're talking, right? Don't let your breath, by breathing deeply, you're exercising breath control, which means you're avoiding your body, your breath, coming into syncopation with their compulsion, which is a kind of a way of breathing. And they're often talking a lot. And they're basically masturbating like I am with their mind. And they're drawing you into it in real time. And you just take a deep breath and don't let them influence you. But you're not hurting them either. It's just, right? And I've done that, and it's instinctual. It doesn't work every time, but you won't think to do it. And they'll just sort of get a look on their face, like they'll just go blank and walk away because you're interrupting the feeding process. But you have to do it quickly enough. Otherwise, if you try to break away, they might become angry or hurt, right? They just kind of get this look like they don't really know what's going on, but you can see by their eyes that it has collapsed in on itself because they won't get it anymore. They're like insects. And so a lot of women will chatter, they'll be really friendly, hi, hey, doing it, but they're really just sucking energy. They're genuinely excited to see you. And why wouldn't they be? They get to suck the life out, and they do for free. And they always feel good. They're like, oh yeah, that Landon guy. I always like talking to him, right? And then one day, they come up to you and you're just like, and you just sort of breathe. Maybe take eye contact away. And you'll notice you'll feel really nervous. Your heart might start beating, your blood starts coming up, and you're like, holy fuck, that's this person trying to get into your energy. You put up a stronger field, but you now. You're like, it's like a parasite, right? Trying to grab your energy, trying to get it. Well, I gotta go now. See ya, right? And different moments when you'll feel that, right? Narcissistic women will introduce a sort of a paralyzed moment or comment. You just breathe and say, okay, turn around, whatever it takes away and move away, right? And if you were to start getting angry, as you could, people would just say you have an antisocial disorder because they don't recognize that these types of things exist, especially when concerning women who are often anxious anyway around men of the opposite sex, and they've learned to feed off of that anxiety by going into different forms of portrayal. And what better thing for the white woman to listen about is what she knows or what she's doing, or what wonderful things she can tell you, and what wonderful things she's doing. And I had one, this is a good teaching example. I had one woman go into this, fly into this mode. And I was myself, one thing you can do is just put white energy around yourself, just a health again way of blocking all kinds of parasitical dynamics. Although the best thing to do, of course, is just to move and never see that person again. And you can get quite angry. And I was talking to this person. This is the point at which it made me angry. And she was talking about doing this to someone else. So she had an anecdote about doing this to another man. And the conclusion of the story, that was because he didn't like it. He had a big ego. Okay. And because women never have big egos, right? And unfortunately, this isn't like a slight to women. It's just unfortunately what women can learn, because survival is predicated using all the advantages that your cult or gender can attribute to you. And one of them is that women can, or in terms of men can be wrong, whatever the case may be. And no one thinks that they can be wrong when they're in portrayal, because it usually works. And she's nattering on about the same thing, exactly the same thing every time. So I've gone through 2 terminal illnesses since I've known her, and she doesn't know anything about me, right? It's remarkable if you can handle the shock factor, right? This is like a natural narcissist you'll ever find. And she goes on for about 10 or 15 minutes, then invites me to go on a date with her so she can talk to me some more about all the same stuff, and that wants to book me on another day to come to a place that she goes to where she's going to give a talk to everyone, and I can listen to her talk some more. There's a lot of you talking. I talk. Come and see me talk. Do you want to help me talk some more? Help me talk some more. Be there so I can tell you about all the other talking I'm going to do. Right? And the last time she did this, she was telling me about how she's learned to listen, because you couldn't listen if you wanted to do, fill in the blank, all the amazing stuff she's doing. Okay? This is a complete loony, right? Who was married to a complete loony. And the moment somebody told her husband how lunatic his mode of social interaction was, he became morbidly depressed and got divorced and put on 100 pounds. It was amazing. So these people really need this so much that you may not want to interrupt them.